Good day, viewers. Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Here I am today with the atheist interview section of my show. I haven't had a guest on for a while. I'm really excited about having Wil Jeudy here from Austin. Good to have you, Wil.
Hello. Good to be here from Houston.
Yeah. Wil and I just got back from Starbucks. He drove in a little bit ago, and we're both kind of highly caffeinated. And if you see me go like this, it's because I may have to run to the restroom. Yeah. So we got to know each other a little bit there at Starbucks. And I met Wil in Houston, was it a couple months ago?
Yeah, right. About 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah. And I think it was at the Humanist of Houston group or Oasis, one of those places I was speaking at. Yeah, and you were there. And so if you ever run into somebody that you can tell you share the same passion, and we kind of clicked, it was Wil. He's one of those guys that I just had to have him come here from Houston on the show to talk about the secular humanist movement, atheist movement, and networking in our community. So I really do see this passion that you have, I have, and many others have. And we want to talk about that today, about how to share this passion and the importance of it and networking. So Wil is the, help me here, make sure I say this right. If I could read my writing, he is the current American Atheist Assistant State Director here in Texas, in Houston. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what does that entail?
I'm the American Atheist Presence in Houston. So if any, we have a list of activist activities or things we want to do out in the community. So I'm responsible for that chunk of Texas that is around Houston.
Okay, good. And that would include some of the humanist groups and different atheist groups in the Houston community?
Absolutely, you're right. American Atheists, we have affiliates, the Houston Oasis, Humanists of Houston, I believe. So any secular group, even progressive Christian groups, we want to help coordinate with and help to flourish, which I will kind of get into in a little bit.
We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, This is so exciting, so exciting. And tell us about your background, Wil, a little bit, how you were raised, where, and was it a religious background, so forth?
Yeah, I was raised in South Texas, in Harlingen, in the Rio Grande Valley, so the very, very tip of Texas. Household wasn't religious, but I went to a private school from grades 1 through 9.
Excuse me, Christian private school?
It was a non-denominational Christian private school.
I got you.
Yes. My dad wanted for us to go at our own pace in school because I was kind of a smart kid.
Yeah.
I skipped a couple grades. It worked out to his plan. What he wasn't planning on was me receiving, or my sister and I actually, receiving an hour's worth of Bible study in school 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a small schoolhouse type of environment. All of the grades were mixed. It was anywhere from 20 to 50 kids kind of running around in general, maybe not 50, but yeah, I learned about Christianity. I was a good Christian kid, believed in Jesus and hell, prayed to God and Jesus.
Yeah.
All that. And I actually learned a lot. They really did a good job of being non-denominational. We learned about the parables and so I have pretty good working knowledge. I did. Good working knowledge of the Christian Bible. Yeah. So yeah, that laid the foundation for my belief. Again, it wasn't at home. And as a family, we went to church maybe once a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't really
But would you identify as a born-again Christian? I mean, were you really saved? Because you know how Christians are. Like
I was in the Book of Life. Yeah.
You were there. You were written down in the Lamb's Book of Life.
That's right. Don't defile the Holy Spirit because that's a sure ticket to hell no matter what you do. I remember being so afraid of don't step on this one thing. Don't even think about blaspheming the Holy Spirit. That's straight. You're done.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, Christians will debate that. And there's a lot of nuance and differences on that interpretation of that scripture.
Yeah, the 9-year-old kid, you don't want to go to hell. Yeah.
So you went off to college, and I know you're a practicing physician.
Right.
You work, not ER, but you work...
urgent care.
Urgent care. Okay. I've always wanted I've never had a doctor on my show. I've got several doctor clients and a good friend of mine who's a registered nurse. Excuse me. But how do you put up with, in your profession as a doctor, you help people, how do you put up with patients who would say, oh, thank God, God is so good that I feel better? Do you ever get any of that through the years of your
So with what I do, before I was in urgent care, I did primary care. So it wasn't a lot of like urgency or life-saving things where something happens right then, or I'm doing surgery and this life is saved because of what I did right then. So that doesn't happen a lot. In my training, it did. But yeah, I remember it's happened a few times. Now, if it happens, it roll off my back. Yeah, it's, I'm not, I get it. It's not my place to, because it's usually a very emotional, intense time for them.
Yeah.
So I'll smile politely.
That's the right thing to do. And
take my gloves off.
Right. And just kind of roll your eyes. Yeah, we always get that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you had an interesting bio when you talked to me earlier, and you went off to college.
Yeah.
And would you say that was the time in your journey when you started doubting the existence of God, or did it come before that?
It was a really gradual process. So once I left the indoctrination of the primary school, I went to a regular high school. So I didn't have that daily Bible study. I was still a believer. Actually into my early 30s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was just a slow, gradual process. What happened in college and beyond is you start learning about the real world. Where I was from, the real world didn't go down to the valley so much. It was really isolated. And then when I went off to college, the world opened up. You're getting older. You start learning about other cultures in the world. Then I started learning about other religions. I remember Malcolm X came out in college, and I was fascinated. I was like, wow, because I was getting into injustices in the world and just learning. So this, he's Muslim, Islam, what is that? And so I started reading about it. So you start learning about other religions. In medical school, I had a lot of Indian American friends, and a lot of them were some were Muslim, a lot of them were Hindu. So I started reading about that. So with every step, it was just I was learning more and more about the world.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't one event that made me doubt. It was just learning about these other cultures and mind opening up. And after a while, I just kind of realized that, well, Christianity isn't it. There's other religions. And it was just in phases. I remember thinking, okay, well, there's a heaven out there, and I'm going to be there because I'm not a good person, but there's good people in other religions. So there's different paths to this one place. So my Hindu friend, my Muslim friend, we're good we choose our path and we all end up in the same place. Jesus is there, Muhammad, whatever. Happiness, eternal happiness. Sure. And then you just didn't quite sit right. After a while, I kind of realized, well, if there's this heaven, I don't need Jesus. Like, that was the hardest part, is breaking my ties with Jesus. I realized that, but it took me a good year to be comfortable with saying, you know what, Jesus, you're a cool cat, but I don't need you. And to break that tie, I remember I remember being pissed off. Like, why is this so hard? I was probably early 30.
A couple of years ago, right?
For a decade ago.
Yeah.
Oh. So it was a gradual thing. And then it was always a journey, because then I was still spiritual. Maybe there's it got it like the pantheism. The whole universe is God, not the God of the Bible, but just this thing you can tap into. And then just kind of slowly just floated onto this atheism. Like, you know what? It's okay if there's nothing out there. I know there's the God of the Bible doesn't exist. So is there still a pantheism, the universe, the force, like in Star Wars, fourth, fifth dimensional beings that we can kind of feel ripples of? Maybe that's what we're feeling. Yeah.
Like Plato talked about, like the forms and up in the third dimension and all that stuff. Yeah. And when did you start really focusing on the secular humanism aspect? Because we've discussed this before. Not all people that identify as atheists really even care about pursuing or reading and studying secular humanism.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know I needed a community until I found one. I wasn't really looking, but I just kind of happened to come across Houston Oasis, which is a safe place for agnostics, atheists, people that want a community without the religion. So about 4 years ago, I happened upon it and I read their website and I was like, they have some core beliefs. And I was like, wow, this looks great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was weird. Just kind of walking in, all these strangers. It was kind of an introvert. So it was a little bit hard, but yeah, I was greeted warmly, quickly warmed up to these people and just hanging out with like-minded, open-minded people. It was wonderful. Yeah. So I've been a member ever since. I'm on the board now of
beautiful.
Oasis.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So even my involvement in a community it's a gradual process.
Yeah.
So, as I kind of realized just my environment around me, there are more people like me that maybe they don't know I don't say need, but want a community, or they need one, they want one, but they don't know that we exist.
That's the key, right?
So
we're discussing this. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I wanted to talk about networking. So bring you back to the networking, which you and I really agree with.
Right.
Which I'm trying to do with you here on my show. I want people to get to know Wil Jeudy and other people in different cities throughout Texas and around the world that we all share the same passion. We're all a little different. We have different styles, but we need to unite together. But how do we, in the Houston area, with the different groups you're involved in, what is your objective? What is your goal? And how do you think you can reach people that have just recently left church, let go of religion and belief in God, that are looking for communities for atheists and agnostics? How do you think, what is your desire there to do these things?
Yeah. So as of December of 2018, so almost a year, I became the Assistant State Director for American Atheists in the Houston area. So with that title, with that responsibility, it allows me to kind of cover all the secular groups in that Houston area. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of the three major ones, Houston Oasis, Humanist of Houston, and Houston Atheists.
And also the smaller one, Oasis in Clearly.
Right. Galveston Bay. I tend to follow them in because early on they did their own thing. But Galveston Bay Oasis, right? Yeah. You're exactly right. So there's an umbrella over them. So I'm trying to network and help everyone thrive, survive, and be. Survive and make each other stronger. So I'm thinking about your question about, so yes, in the Houston area, I mean, everywhere in Texas and in the USA, there are people, like I said, that want to find a community. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of getting out there, being seen. And just like again, like you're doing, I'll get to this later. Mm-hmm. But whether it's advertising and online, going out on doing volunteer work, Facebook posts, wearing a T-shirt out in public, all of these things will help. Yeah. And I know there are people out there that are in churches and these religious communities, and they're stuck, or they think they're stuck because it's scary. It really is a scary thing to leave that, and leave to what? Some people just they just don't want to do anything. Like you said, that's fine. But if you want a community, we do exist.
Okay, the other day, I don't remember if I said this when I spoke in Houston a couple weeks ago or if it was on my show. I don't remember, so I'm going to say it again anyways. But the other day, early in the morning, one of my clients up in North Austin, I stopped at a convenience store, make a long story short, and there was a gentleman there, and he struck up a conversation with me. He made a comment because he was getting his coffee. And he said, "I wish I could be as perky as you are in the morning. You seem happy and perky." And then he made a comment, something to do with religion, right? And I said, "Well, actually, I'm an atheist." That's my favorite thing to tell people. I'm an atheist. And I smile, and they're like, they give the old look like, huh? Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, you're not supposed to be happy. And anyway, and I said, "I'm an atheist." And he put his fist out for a fist pump. And he said, "I too am an atheist." Oh. Now, the reason I say that, Wil, is because he opened up to me and he said he just left his church 6 months ago. He's hurt, he's wounded, he's bitter, he's an atheist. he started dropping the F-bomb, every other word, on his preacher and the church, on God, on religion. I get it. Mm-hmm. He was hurt. A lot of us had come out of that hardcore Christianity. And he's in this little stage where a lot of people go through of healing, and they need a loving community. And he goes, man, I need to talk to somebody. I don't know where to go, what to do. And I said, dude, there are thousands, well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of different avenues for you to choose. Recovering from religion, there's lots of books. But the best is to find what we're talking about, a loving group of human beings that understand what you're going through. They're agnostics, atheists, secular humanists. Most of us have been there, done that. Well, many of us have gone through that journey. And he was just brokenhearted. A guy sent me a message on my Preaching Humanist show. And he said, man, I don't know where to go, what to do. I'm lost. I'm lonely. I left my church family. I don't have any friends anymore. I've been deserted. I've been repudiated. I lost my family, all that sad stuff. But he can't go back to believe in God, but he misses the church.
Right.
So what would you say to a guy like that?
Well, again, I mean, that's a perfect example of Houston Oasis. It's a place to go. The short, easy way to describe it is an atheist church, but we're neither a church nor is everyone. We're not an atheist group. We welcome everybody. There's even some believers that just prefer the open-mindedness of what we do. We have great talks, but definitely a community, a safe place to go. And there's one in Houston, Galveston Bay, Austin. I mean, there's plenty of secular groups to plug into, but yeah, I totally agree. The word needs to get out. And also, I've done it with a really long Facebook post, maybe I think 2 years ago. I remember thinking, you know what, I'm going to kind of announce that I'm an atheist just publicly for the express purpose of whoever is on my friends list or whoever sees this will think like, oh, wow, there is a place for this. So I'm thinking if everyone in the Houston Oasis or all my friends, wherever, do a similar post, there's all these flashes around. So it's getting out there. So at least people know that that a place exists. And also I want to normalize atheism. In the post, again, the other reason I did it was people have known me for a long time. So they know I'm a pretty good guy, a moral guy, stand up, whatever you want to say, but a good person. So now if I'm coming out as an atheist kind of publicly, they have to mash those two together and it creates some dissonance. That's exactly what I want to do.
Beautiful.
Right.
But excuse me, what are they going to think when they meet Wil Jeudy? They're going to meet a guy like you, upright, you probably study moral philosophy, ethology, you believe in being a good person, all the different things that we do in secular humanism, a well-developed, mature person, right?
Right.
Balanced person. Not just being an atheist, but we grow into just developing the 7 C's of character, the common moral decencies of humanity, of humanism, all the beautiful things, right? But when they meet a person like you, Wil, most people, with my experience of all these years doing this stuff, most people are going to think you are a what?
Yeah, Christian.
Exactly.
Right. A good Christian.
Or a practicing Christian, one that produces godly fruit, right? So that's why, I'm glad you said that. That's why I think it's so important to say the A word, whether it's the cap A, I say cap A in lowercase a. Cap A, atheist, lowercase agnostic. I'm a cap A guy. You are too. I just say atheist.
Right.
But more importantly, secular humanist.
Right.
So how do we get, I'm jumping ahead again. We got to come back to networking, but how do we get our people in our respective little groups, atheist groups, secular humanist groups, all these different secular groups, motivated, fired up to see the importance of just simply inviting people and seeing this thing called secular humanism is beautiful. I want other people to know about it, and I want to bring them in. I know it sounds churchy. I mean, I used to be an evangelist, of course, but how do we fire up people to go out and do things like this?
Man, people are going to do what they want to do just kind of naturally. So a good analogy is voting. I really want to get people to get out and vote, but a lot of people don't, they have whatever reason. So it's you can't just say, hey man, just get out and vote. It's important for government, the community, all these reasons, it's not going to get them fired up to vote. You can't count on that to work. So same with what you're saying about getting people excited, bringing in secular people, humanist people just like us, into communities and networking. Yeah, some people just they just don't have a desire to do that. They just want to go to work, drink some beer, and they don't need a community. And that's fine. That's fine. What I wanted to do is be an example. Again, I'm in charge kind of the Houston area, so I'm new to this position with American Atheists, but there's some activism stuff I want to do, and me kind of saying, well, come on, guys, let's go do this. That'll get some people off the couch. Just be an example and go forward, and whoever is inspired is inspired.
Yeah, and you're leading by example,
right?
Too, right? It's not always what you say. It's also just about what you do, because some people will catch on. I wonder if it has something to do with maturity, because we're all on a journey. There are a lot of people that just recently have come out of Christianity, and they're at that place that we've already discussed. They really don't think about other people as much. They may not think about reaching out, helping other people that are going through the same thing. I wonder if it just takes time. That's the way I see it. It probably takes time for people to come into that place of their own and their own journey and to mature into that. I guess like Abraham Maslow talked about with the hierarchy of needs, where we have these more selfish interests, right? And then you come to a point in your life where you want to exceed above just yourself and you want to share with other people. And that's what I see about secular humanism, right? So I find the people that maybe grow into that, and some of that may be based on their personality types too. Some people are very shy and introverted. Some people are more extroverted. But I'm hoping more people will want to get out there and talk to people. And I think a lot of our fellow atheists, maybe you can help me understand this, might be frightened and afraid of losing friends and of people knowing that they are atheist or agnostic, maybe because of their job or their family.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we're here to do, is to normalize atheism, not only in society at large, but hopefully in elected officials and eventually with laws that aren't so discriminatory. That's exactly what we're trying to push back against. So yeah, there's no quick fix. The society is not going to change. And I think if we're in California or parts of the Northeast, it's not a big deal. And people will say, yeah, you're an atheist. Oh yeah, so what? It's not a big deal, but obviously in certain parts of the country, which
they don't get it. Come to Texas, you'll understand, or the South. Yeah. But being in urban, you live within the city?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we live in the city of Austin. So being inside the loops or inside the big cities of Texas or the South, I guess that would be true for New Orleans as well, maybe Atlanta, Birmingham, the other larger southern cities. You're going to have a larger percentage of people like us. But outside the network, like outside of the Houston city limit, well, actually, I'm sure within Houston there's a lot of Christians. But when you tend to get outside these cities, it gets more red,
right?
More Christian, more conservative, and so forth. So, but that's why I think we need to get out there. So, have you considered in your groups, or do you have this on your plan, Wil, to get some of the groups there? I know I talked about this at some of those groups, to maybe even set up tables with the sign of the particular group with literature and passing out literature and educating the public about what humanism is and atheism.
I don't know if we have that plan per se, and I say we because I'm part of Houston Oasis. American Atheists don't really have like a meeting, a regular thing in Houston. So when I say we, it's Houston Oasis. So no, we don't have anything like that other than our volunteer. When we volunteer, we wear our shirts and we'll tell people what we're doing. Okay. But to actively tell people that we're secular humanists and pass out literature, we don't do that, which is a great idea. I'm gonna write this down.
You get out there with a sign like I've been doing for years. You've seen some of my episodes. Well, here.
There we go.
Oh, let me get over here. This is from my next episode. You've seen this sign many times. You just get this sign out there, and a sign that says Oasis or Houston community, Humanist of Houston community, whatever. You put that out there, that will definitely bring people to the booth. They ask questions. What is this thing called humanism? You pass out literature, you pass out cards for all the various groups. I try to do that. Like at the Capitol, I was out there last week by myself, and I've had several people come up to me who are fellow atheists. Where do you meet? Where do I go? And I was out of business cards.
Right.
And my friend in San Antonio from FACT, not Vicky. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I forgot her name. This is so sad. Anyway, the FACT group, Free Thinkers of Central Texas in San Antonio. When I meet people at the Alamo in San Antonio, people come up to us with our signs. Where do you guys meet? Well, I'm from Austin, but there's a group here for secular people in San Antonio. So to me, you get out there and have a table or a booth. That's my opinion. I think it's the best way to advertise and to promote it.
I love it. I recently met the president of the Secular Student Alliance in the University of Houston. And I think they just started, but on their plan is to do something like that. There's an Ask an Atheist Day, I think, on the 19th. So they have already something planned to do something very similar to that. Yeah. So now it's a terrific idea. I would man that.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And there's so many different ways to do it. And we don't have to, I don't want people to follow me or follow anybody else. Just take ideas from each other. That's why networking is so important. Right.
So
let's finally, we're in the networking. Your thing. Okay. So let's talk about networking. Let's talk about the networking that you want to do in Houston, and then in Texas, the country, and the world, and the importance of it.
One of the things in the works is with American Atheists and also Secular Coalition of America. Other groups are involved as well, but we're trying to get the secular groups in Texas to network. So I'm in charge of the Houston area. So I'm making a list of all the secular groups, getting a representative from them, and basically just sitting down and discussing what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what do we need. And one group may have a certain strength that helps another, and vice versa. The overarching purpose of this is to network. So I have the Houston area, other people have different areas. Eventually we'll all get together, and it'll be a big networking thing around Texas. Texas is a big state, so it's kind of slow to form, but it is forming. And together, we're stronger. Yeah. Divide and conquer works, but the opposite works as well. So we help each other out. We help each other thrive. And once that happens, again, I think that's a great foundation upon which to build. And it's been done in California. It worked very well. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to learn from what they did and move forward with that. But yeah, it's a big networking thing, effort. And again, the purpose is to make each other stronger and to know who the other groups are in Texas.
I love that. Yeah. And I think each group, like you've already mentioned, seems to have a different strength, right? Yeah. A different focus, each different group. And that's why we need each other, because not one group has it all.
Absolutely. Right? There's different flavors. I should say Houston, if we're attracting these people that are wanting a community, Houston Oasis may be perfect for some people, but other people may want more of an activist flavor. Yeah. So Humanists of Houston might be a better choice for them, or whatever. But yeah, I call them flavors. There's different flavors around Houston, around Texas, around the country.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's what we really need to promote. I know you agree with me about promoting a positive secular humanism, a positive atheism, and even amongst ourselves, because if we're not careful, now, we're supposed to be the rational ones compared to the believers in the supernatural. But even in our groups, we see splits, we see divisions, we see people arguing over things that, come on, people, this is minute to minuscule. You know, we're always going to have differences. You and I could differ on some things, but we don't stop being friends over something, right? That is smaller and less important. Hell, even Christine and I disagree on some things, but the major things. So I would say maybe major on the majors and stay away from the minor differences. But we all have our different niches. And I think that we should be supporting one another. And when we hear of someone else in a different group that excels in a certain area, I mean, just like here at ACA, when I'm out talking to people, I'm not the greatest philosophical debater. That's not my thing. Most people know that by now. But here at this studio, we have some shows that we all know about, world-renowned shows with some of the best philosophical debaters you'll ever meet in your life. The best. That's their thing.
Right.
I got cards. I say, call Atheist Experience, call Talk Heathen. These people will listen to you. They'll give you a chance to talk. They'll go down the rabbit hole of Christian philosophy with you, which I have no patience for, and they'll take you down there and explain things to you. So we all have our niche and our cog in the wheel in this beautiful movement. Yeah. So what do you think the future is for us, man? Do you think we're going to continue to grow? Do you see, as there are more and more people leaving religion, that we have a, hate to sound like an old evangelist again, but a harvest field out there of people to bring in?
Well, the numbers say so. Obviously, we all know about those graphs that have come out over the last year about the nuns, N-O-N-E-S.
Yeah.
And that line is accelerating, and it's the young people mostly.
Yeah.
So absolutely, and we can't expect all of these young people who are not religious to want to be in a community. They just want to go to college, do their own thing. So community is not for everybody. But for the ones that do want it, yes, it's gonna be there. And maybe it's because I'm fairly new to the community, so I'm learning who does what. But I'm really excited about all the things going on, about pushing back against Project Blitz.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Seidel came out with a great book about
the myth.
tearing down the myths of Christian nationalism, meeting the people in Texas. Hector Garcia has a couple of great books. So, again, I didn't know any of this existed before I joined this community. So if you're not in a community, maybe you don't. You just know about the big names, Hitchens or Dawkins or whatever, and maybe watch a few YouTube things. But some people, that's their entry. That's what inspires them to look, wow, this is great, and go down that rabbit hole. And they pop up talking to David Oliverio.
We all have our place. I mean, years and years ago, when I finally got a computer, I started going on YouTube and discovering things, Hitchens and Dawkins and Harris and Dennett years and years ago. And they served a purpose in my journey at that moment. Right. And then you grow and you mature, and then you help other people with all the experience you have gained as an atheist or agnostic humanist. And it's just a beautiful journey for all of us. But we all have a place in the community. We can reach out and help other people along. Like the gentleman I met at the convenience store the other day. There are a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I just want to be an example of what a good person is. And oh, by the way, I'm an atheist or a secular humanist. So I tell, when I have conversations with right-leaning friends of mine, which I don't have a lot of anymore, but I want to talk to them. I want to be an example. I want to interact with them and let them know everything about my life. I want to decrease suffering for fellow humans. So once they learn that or accept that about me, now they have to match that with the atheism and whatever else they're thinking. But
have you been picking my brain,
dude? When we first met, like I said, it was awesome because we met. I heard your talk at Humanist of Houston. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do, and you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. Everything you're doing, I was like, oh, that's me. That's me. Yeah. So I think we're picking each other's brain at some fourth dimension or something.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's our passion, right? And is to just change the world, make it better. And that was so good of you to say that you want people to know you. And then when you tell me you're an atheist, you want them to see that you are striving for moral excellence, ethology, and being a good person, because people still associate that with Christianity. And I get so old.
That's a whole other talk,
every weekend. So we got to get out there. Maybe next time you come to town, you can come early on Saturday and some weekend, and we can go, and you go with me down with the guys up, maybe down in San Antonio, the Alamo, or here at the Capitol, and go out and do some activism.
That's a deal,
Yeah, and then maybe we can come out there and I can help you guys in Houston set up a table or something. But there's so many things to do, so much activism to do, and so many people to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we pretty well covered all the bases. Did you want to share anything else about what you do in Houston? Any upcoming events in the Houston area of the groups that you're involved in?
No big events. With Houston Oasis, we always have great talks coming through. Anthony Magnabosco is going to be there this month. Later this month.
How about my new man crush? I got 3 man crushes. I'm a straight guy, but it's good to have man crushes. I got one on A.C. Grayling. I told you,
right?
The British philosopher. I love his brain and his British distinguished voice. And then Penn, Anthony,
Dr. Penn. Yes, he's going to be at Houston Oasis in November, middle or late November. The date escapes me, but. Yes, Dr. Penn will be at Houston Oasis in November. Anthony Magnabosco in a couple weeks. That's those are. But we have some great speakers coming through.
Yeah, these are great, high quality people.
I'm going to give a talk on Project Blitz at Galveston Bay Oasis.
When are you going to be there? I was just there last month. Yeah.
Yeah. November or December.
You're going to be there November or December?
Right. I'll. Yeah.
Let me know.
I will. Yeah. It's in. It should, the legal legal counsel for American Atheists. She gives a talk a lot around the country. So I'm trying. Man. I'm just like I'm a doctor. Like this legal stuff. It's a little bit hard for me to pull off, but I do. I've given this talk at Houston Oasis. It worked out fine, and now I've had more time to learn. So yeah, man. Yeah, it's a jack of all trades.
You're on the team, man. Yeah, I love it.
Pushing back. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to have you back on the show, and I do want you to come on with David Kyle next time too. David Kyle is the current president of Austin Humanist Community, another fine group. And I was going to have David on the show with us today, and something came up. He had to cancel. He went out of town, but he'll be back next time. So again, networking with another group here in Austin, comprised of, even though they say humanists, they're comprised of atheists and agnostics. We just have little different flavors. Let's just get together, look at the focus on the positives, encourage one another. Let's push back against the religious right and secularize this world and normalize atheism.
Yeah, and decrease suffering in this world.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that what morality is?
That's absolutely what morality is.
Promoting the well-being of humanity, utilitarianism, goodness, kindness, happiness, and decreasing suffering.
Right.
Because we get it all the time. From Christians. What is morality? How can you be moral without God? You give them that definition, they go, oh, it's like me. Yeah. Just a different source. Ours is from here, reality. Yours is from that. So, hey, man, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
I'm glad you existed.
You were fantastic. And this was one of your first times doing a show on atheism, or have you done this before?
No, this is my first time. Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised. You did, for your first time, you did very well, and you did great. So we'll definitely have you back. So, all right, viewers, thanks a lot for watching The Preaching Humanist, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.